Now, I know this is a show where we talk about the IPL, but there's been some breaking news in Indian sport which we absolutely must talk about. So, Captain Sunil Chhetri has announced his retirement. He'll play his last match on June 6 against Kuwait. Now, he is the most capped Indian player of all time, and he's number 3 on the list of international active players with the most goals. He's behind only Ronaldo and Messi. But more than that, he's known to be a passionate leader who is passionate not only about the game, but about bringing more eyes into the game. So, Ayaz, how would you sum up Sunil Chhetri's career?
I mean, it's been a magnificent career. Look, when you talk of Indian footballers, obviously they're not, in the sense of a Messi or a Ronaldo or a Maradona or a Pele, that kind of impact. But you have to contextualize that. This is not a footballing nation in many, many ways, at least to that extent or that level. And then to make a niche for yourself, carve out a niche where you're acknowledged and applauded world over for what you've achieved, and you mentioned of the number of goals is fantastic. But I think Sunil Chetri's biggest contribution has been to increase the awareness about Indian football, highlight its shortcomings, highlight the pitfalls, highlight what needs to be done to make India a footballing nation, a strong footballing nation. And it's been an uphill battle for him. Anirudh, you're an avid football follower, so you know how much he has agonized, and maybe this agony has increased over the last 7, 8, 10 years, approaching. Uh, his best days were behind him. He still kept playing, and for the simple reason, I think, to that he was fit, he kept himself fit to compete at the highest levels. Again, hugely credit worthy. But I think he also did it to focus attention, to talk about how football could be run, should be run, and where he expects and he hopes Indian football could reach. It hasn't happened in his playing career, but I think he leaves behind a formidable legacy as a player and as somebody who really thought for, labored for, and really fought for Indian football.
Yeah. Like we all remember that one plea once he had about please come and watch us, and I could actually feel his heart breaking at that moment. And do you think that like one
That
of his
was that was in
predecessors?
for a match in Mumbai. I did once an interview with Sunil, and we
Yeah.
actually did it. This was during the pandemic, and we did it over the phone. And kind of what kind of appealed to me and also kind of amazed me is his sense of the articulation. He was so
Yeah.
clear in his thinking and his articulation, the way he thought things, the way he spoke to a journalist, what he wanted communicated. And it was a completely non-fussy individual. He was not some prima donna captain of India talking to journalists. This was a passionate footballer himself, and what he thought needed to be done at the grassroots level, at the intermediate level, at the junior level, and then on from there to the senior or the elite level. He was so clear in his thoughts, and I always wondered why so much more was not squeezed out of him to take Indian football ahead, apart from the fact that he played and captain. And I'm sure that that is something that he still has a lot to contribute.
Yeah. Yeah, which was my next question. So we've seen like one of his predecessors, Baichung Bhutia, get into politics. And there have been others who got into administration. Where would you like to see him? Do you see him as a coach developing football in the country more, or do you see him going like outside to do some commentary, some broadcasting? Where do you want to see him?
I mean, as I mentioned, he's a very articulate guy. I mean, who knows the game better than Sunil Chhetri, wherever he may be, even if he's going and commentating on international football. But that is fine. I mean, that's a vocation where, people have the right to earn livelihood. It could be that, it could be coaching. But I think I see him more, for so long he's been spreading the gospel of football in India and making people turn their attention, including the high and mighty, towards how to succor football in India. I think now that's a role I see him continuing because he carries in him the voice of the plaintive voice of where Indian football wants to reach, and he I think I don't think he would be able to de-link himself completely from Indian football and where he thinks Indian football could reach. Perhaps look, maybe in 5, 7, 8 years, 10 years, he might be he might get frustrated, not achieve what he wanted, or he might actually see progress and then kind of give it even more of a thrust, more of himself, to take it to a level where I think that, he expects Indian football to be, and so do all football lovers in India.
Yeah. So moving on, we'll come back to the IPL, which is the show is about. So a few weeks ago, we were waxing lyrical about Rajasthan's performance, and you, Ayaz, brought up the point that they're not known to finish their campaign strong. And lo and behold, it's happened again. They've lost 4 on the trot now. And there is a mathematical chance that they might end up 4th on the table. They've qualified, but they could end up 4th on the table, which looked highly unlikely even a week ago. So do you think there are jitters in that camp now?
I mean, evidently there are jitters. For such a strong team to lose 4 matches on the trot, and despite being placed so well on the table,
Yeah.
I mean, teams taking the field to play Rajasthan were actually intimidated for the manner in which Joss Butler, Samson, Parag, Yashasvi Jaiswal were batting, and Chahal bowling, and Kent bowled. This is on paper, in my opinion, is still the best team. But as I said last time, they seem towards the end of the tournament, and this happened in the past, they seem to lose their way. They seem to get into, and you called it jitters. It could be, maybe, ultimately when you're approaching the fag end or the home stretch of a tournament is when you have to be at your sharpest and your best. And this is not what they have been. We saw that even in the last match they played against Punjab. So I mean, they will qualify, as we know, but I think, perhaps they've lost themselves the chance of having, you know, 2 opportunities to reach to win the title rather than just one. I mean, 2 opportunities to make sure you're in the final. So hopefully they'll, kind of steady themselves and pull up their socks. But it would be, I would like to see Rajasthan in the final, but the more important question is, do they themselves want to be in the final?
Yeah. Yeah. So if Rajasthan have lost 4 on the trot, RCB have won 5 of their 5 last games, and now they head into a virtual knockout for them against CSK. Now, in terms of fan interest, I think this might be more exciting than the eventual final. Even you have Virat Kohli and Dhoni clashing, and Bangalore seem to have the momentum, and CSK have the muscle memory of winning. So, how do you see that contest shaping up?
It's going to be a fascinating contest. I think, RCB, after stuttering, struggling for a long period, kind of found their groove. They came back on the rails, and they've looked marvelous since then. It looked like a one-man team to start with. Then it became a two-man team. With Maxwell not performing, they've still managed to win so many matches. Is credit worthy. Now they're up against CSK. CSK's biggest strength, I think, is the sheer habit of winning big matches, crucial matches, tight matches, tough conditions. That's been their legacy. That's been their history. They won 5 titles, lost on a couple of occasions, finished in the final. But generally, is their ability to kind of hold their own in the most excruciating circumstances, which makes them different. And I think that's the challenge that RCB have. So, and RCB still, I think, just a shade below the best teams in the bowling department, though they've come along strongly in that also. So I think they need a little buffer from the batting. They need more runs from a Cameron Green, maybe even a Faf du Plessis at the top, to really put pressure on CSK. But CSK have their own issues. Jadeja not shining too much with the bat or ball. That's been a bit of a drawback for them. They've lost a few players, through injury or international commitments. So yeah, the tournament started with CSK versus RCB, and in the at least this league stage is going to end with the same match, and interestingly with a place still in the offing in the playoffs. So it's going to be really tough.
Yeah. So that and some more exciting matches coming up. So we'll keep you updated. So yeah, that's it for this episode of Sports Room. We'll see you next time.